What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. And today we are going to be ranking every Scream movie with the release of Scream 6 included. It's going to be fun. Subscribe if you're looking forward to it. Hit the like, notifications, all of that good stuff. But now, let's get into this ranking. Now, before we start, I just want to make one thing clear, and that's I do not think there is a bad film in this entire franchise. I mean, all of these movies are 3 stars, B- and up for me. I think this is one of the most, if not the most consistent horror franchise, and even the bottom film on this list, nowhere close to being terrible or even bad. It's still decent. So, with that being said, let's get into this list. Like I said, subscribe, like, let's get into the ranking. Coming in at number 6, we of course have Scream 3. I mean, could it really be anything else? I've seen this at probably the bottom of every ranking, everybody's ranking that I've seen so far, and I would agree, this is definitely the weakest of the Scream films, while still being a pretty damn solid entry into this franchise. I think it's still a decent horror film. It's a decent slasher movie as a whole. My main problems with Scream 3 come from the writing. Of course, Kevin Williamson did not write this, and it definitely shows. This film is a little bit overly meta, and that might sound weird coming from an entry in the Scream franchise, because all these films are very meta, very self-aware. They like to play into the horror tropes, and that's kind of what you go for. But the way this film does it is just very, very sloppy, in my opinion. I find a lot of the stuff that they're trying to do here very convoluted with, you know, some of the new characters they introduce. We have all the kills happening on the stab set, which turns out to be the Scream set, and it's all very jumbled and thrown around and just doesn't really work for me as a whole. Another thing, this film leans into the comedy side. Now, I understand this is not really the film's fault. I mean, during the production of this, unfortunately, Columbine just happened, and they really wanted to tone down the horror in this one and build up the comedy to make it a little less dark, which I can completely understand, but it just does not age as well for me as some of the other films in this list. The last thing I will say is this film also asks you to suspend so much disbelief so that things can move along in the story, and I don't buy it. You know, Scream has been one of the most grounded horror franchises of all time, in my opinion, and this one, you know, you have all these little things like the voice changer that can mimic anybody's voice perfectly. I understand why it's there, but it just doesn't work for me. So, Scream 3, a solid film overall, a really solid film. I don't think it's bad, but still the weakest of this franchise. Coming in at number 5, we unfortunately have Scream 6, the newest entry into the Scream franchise, and damn, man, I really wanted to love this film, and I do think it is pretty damn good. I would give this a solid B+, 7 out of 10. It's a good film. It's really well made. There are just a lot of things in there that really disappointed me. And I have a full review going over my full thoughts, so I'll just put a card up there if you want to check that out, but I'll summarize for right now. The biggest thing that holds this movie back for me is that stakes do not exist in this franchise anymore. I mean, you got people getting stabbed all over the place, fatally stabbed maybe 20 to 25 times, vital organs. The next scene, they get up like nothing happened, man. And that just rips me out of the film, right? I think the whole cast is actually really solid. I really like these new characters that we're following as a continuation from Scream 5, the core 4, as they are called in the film. I really like all of them. I'm just not a big fan of a lot of the events that surround them. I think the new setting of New York was actually realized pretty well. I think they couldn't have done much better in utilizing that location. I mean, you have stuff that happens in apartment buildings and they have to crawl across to another one, and you have Ghostface showing up in a bunch of public places and all of that type of stuff I think is really good. The other problems I have, even though I said I do love this cast of characters, I really only like those 4. All the new introductions and new characters that they put in this film, I think are all pretty terrible because we don't really get to know them or anything, and they pretty much all end up dying, you know? I also thought the ultimate reveal of Ghostface was pretty disappointing. I mean, like I said, 2 of those new characters are revealed to be Ghostface, and I don't give a fuck about these characters. You have the mastermind who does not dress up as Ghostface, at least that's what the film is hinting at, but you have Detective Bailey, I believe his name was, and his performance through the whole film is so off and strange the way he delivers his lines that was an instant red flag for me in terms of deciding who the killer was. I was like, I don't think I can trust this guy, and was able to see that coming pretty much from the beginning. So a lot of good things in Scream 6, but for me, pretty much an equal amount of disappointing things. I still think it's a good film. You are going to hear that for every film I talk about, but yeah. Number 5, Scream 6. Coming in at number 4, we have Scream 2022, or Scream 5 as it should be titled. But from here, really the only movies that disappoint me in this franchise were the bottom 2. From here, everything is 4 stars, A and up. I love all the movies coming up next on this list. But yeah, for right now, Scream 5, I love this movie. Like I said, hard drop off between this and the last one, but this really felt like kind of a passing the torch style movie to me. I mean, you have the legacy characters that come back. That's one thing I forgot to mention with Scream 6. Gale Weathers is in the film. She doesn't do a damn thing except get stabbed and go to the hospital. The legacy character utilization in Scream 5 is not the greatest, but I feel like that's intentional in a way. They are setting up these new characters to kind of come in and take over, and I think they gave us a really cool and interesting group of characters to follow for the upcoming events of the rest of this reboot trilogy, or however many they do after Scream 6. But I really like the characters. I think they're acted very well. A lot of good comedy in this film as well. It's not as comedic as they tried to make Scream 3, but I think what we have here really works. And the portrayal of Ghostface, I will say this for Scream 5 and 6, the portrayal of Ghostface in both of these movies is brutal, is really kind of up close and personal, and when you do get these major action sequences, they are so ridiculously visceral and intense to watch, and the way that they're filmed, I can't help but love that, man. It's so good. It's obviously nice to see Sidney back in this one, and I was really surprised what they did with the character of Dewey, because I've always liked him in all the other films, but he's never been that main character that I really enjoy watching. He's serviceable and good for what he does in the other films, but this one, he was kind of like the core character of the movie, and leading up to his death, I actually thought that was extremely meaningful and a good way to push the story forward, and I just love the way that they executed it. I was so surprised when I saw this in theaters, and I still love rewatching this movie to this day. So, number 4, Scream 5. I don't get why this movie gets as much hate as it does, but I love it. So, yeah, Scream 5. Coming in at number 3, we have Scream 2. That one might be a little bit of a hot take, especially through a process of elimination, so you know which 2 are left, but I love Scream 2. I loved it from the first time I saw it. I think it has one of the best opening sequences in the franchise in the movie theater with the release of Stab. I think all of that is really awesome. I think Neve Campbell is kind of used to her full potential and really becomes Sidney Prescott, the one that we know and love. It's kind of like the difference between, weird comparison, but Chucky in Child's Play 1 and Chucky in Child's Play 2. In this film, Neve Campbell, Sidney Prescott, becomes the badass that we expect her to be, and she is just such like a fucking boss in this movie, and the rest of the movies to come. I mean, she does not take any shit. She fucks Ghostface up at every opportunity she is given, and it is awesome to watch. I love this character, and I love the events surrounding her as well. I really like the college setting of this film. I think that's pretty cool. The sorority house, a little bit of a callback to like Black Christmas or something, if you read that much into it. They really go for the meta-ness of sequels, and everything has to be bigger and badder and bloodier and gorier and higher budget and higher stakes as well. And of course you have the death of Randy in this film, and as much as it hurt to see him go, he was so damn awesome in this movie, and his death, again, like Dewey's in Scream 5, really propelled the rest of this franchise forward. So as much as I love him and as much as I miss the dude in these newer Scream films, I think his death was earned and executed really well in Scream 2. All of those reasons why I love this film. I love this franchise as a whole. You guys know that already, but Scream 2 is fucking awesome. One of my favorites. Number 3. Now, the one that is gonna get me in some trouble with the die-hard Scream fans, because this one seems to be the most divisive out of all of them, but Scream 4 is my favorite Scream sequel. I know. This movie is fucking amazing as far as I'm concerned. I love Scream 4, man. There's so much about it, and what makes this movie for me, I'm just gonna get right into it, is the character of Jill Roberts. She is the most maniacal, fucking diabolical, and batshit crazy Ghostface killer we have ever had. Me watching this for the first time, I did not expect her to turn out as the killer at all. You know, we get some hints leading up to the third act that kind of make you raise an eyebrow, but before that, I was like, she's Sydney's cousin. I mean, I expected Charlie, Rory Culkin's character, who I also love. He was the one that I kind of pinpointed the first time I saw this, but that reveal of Jill is so damn good. The way that Emma Roberts portrays this character as well, I love it. Like I said, she's insane, diabolical. She has her goal set out. You kind of understand her motivation. You don't agree with it, but you can see why she would be pushed to do this. But adding on to the insanity of her character, saying stuff like, I don't need friends, I need fans, and you know, my mom had to die for me to get to this point, but that wasn't much of a loss. Like stuff like that.
Sake, my own mother had to die, no great loss there, so I could stay true to the original. But sick, right? Well, sick is the new sane.
She's one of the greatest Ghostface killers, in my opinion, and the biggest reason why I love this movie. But you also have new characters that I really like. The new cast in this film is awesome. I particularly love Kirby, and it was great to see her in Scream 6. I forgot to mention that, but she was one of the best parts of that movie, in my opinion. But the character of Kirby in Scream 4 is so awesome. She rides the line of that popular girl, but also has that nerd aspect to her where she knows everything about horror films. You know, we get so many awesome scenes with her talking about horror. She is really the Randy of this film, and I am all fucking here for it. Love her in this one. Ghostface himself, again, a little bit more up close and personal and brutal this time. I mean, the kills in this film are just the basic stabs, but what we do have of the gore that is shown is fucking gnarly, man. Especially the cop, the head stab cop, yeah, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. My god, man. Even the first kill of the film, you get this girl who is literally cut open, her intestines and internal organs are out everywhere, spilling around her room. It's crazy shit. One of the biggest criticisms of Scream 4, though, that I hear is the way it was shot. I mean, you have this very weird, kind of bright and maybe a little bit oversaturated look in terms of how this was color graded, however they chose to shot this film. It is definitely different and a little bit standout and unique, but to be honest with you, that has never really bothered me. I definitely could see how a lot of people would not enjoy that for its uniqueness, but it's never been a full problem for me personally. I love the Stabathon setting where you have Gale going around placing these hidden cameras everywhere, and then you get the Ghostface fight that breaks out with that, where Dewey comes in and shooting. There's so many iconic moments to this film that I just flat out love. The only thing that I'm not a huge fan of this movie is the final third act. And if you've seen the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. When they finally get to the hospital, Jill's plan was so smartly set up and she was realizing it to its fullest potential. But once you get to that hospital and she finds out Sydney is alive, her plan goes off the rails a little bit because she tries to murder Sydney, and as soon as she tries to kill Sydney in the hospital, she's gonna get found out. But that final ending doesn't really work for me. But apart from that, I think Scream 4 is a damn good sequel, and it is my favorite Scream sequel as of right now. Could change in the future, but as of right now, Scream 4. You also have Scream 4 as Wes Craven's final film, unfortunately. Rest in peace. And as far as I'm concerned, Wes Craven went out on the highest of highs that he could have gone. I mean, my God, rest in peace, man. But of course, coming in at number 1, it had to be the original Scream from 1996. I also have a full review up for this film. Put a card right there. But this film kind of defined slashers going forward. They were one way in the 80s and early 90s, and even going back to the 70s, and then after Scream came out, they were a different way. I mean, this kind of set the template for the modern slasher. Really showed a new generation of horror fans what a slasher film was and what it could be. This really defined slashers for the new generation of horror fans coming up. It showed what you could do with an amazing cast, great characters, and a very smartly written script by Kevin Williamson. I mean, the opening sequence of this film is iconic as hell. Ghostface as a killer himself, his debut, so iconic. And then you have that great reveal at the end showing it was Billy Loomis and Stu all along. One of the greatest reveals in horror history, in my opinion. I mean, you have Billy Loomis, who has a very clear-cut motivation, and he's very straightforward and planned. Stu is the complete contrast of that, being so maniacal and kind of motiveless. It's left a little bit ambiguous, but this film also gave us the great Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott, Courtney Cox as Gale Weathers, and David Arquette as Dewey. I mean, I love all these characters. I think I really don't have much more to say about this film. Like I said, I did a whole review, so go check that out if you want my full thoughts, but I love Scream. Such a good film. As I've been talking about with all these movies, you have Scream that comes along and really plays into the horror tropes, is very self-aware and has moments of dark comedy, and then you have that great meta storytelling where they kind of talk about the state of horror at the time, which is something that had never really been fully realized until Scream came out, which is why it is known to be one of the smartest slashers ever written, and like I said, doesn't take itself too seriously, which I think makes it a little bit more accessible for a lot of people that wouldn't be into horror. Like I said, kind of introduced a new generation of horror fans to this genre for that reason, so you gotta give it all the props and credit for that. I love this film. I'm so glad Kevin Williamson had a director like Wes Craven to help him fully realize what he had in mind for this screenplay that he had wrote. And yeah, Scream, the original Scream from 1996, deserves all the credit that it gets. Not overhyped at all and still holds up really well to this day. And all of that is why it is my number 1 Scream film. So that's it. There's my Scream ranking. I might get in trouble a little bit for this one, but you know what? It's my ranking, my opinion. If yours is different, good. Let me know what your ranking is down in the comments below. If we all had the same ranking, life would be pretty boring. So, like I said, let me know what yours is. Let me know what you thought of my ranking. If you want to see more from me, please like and please subscribe. Helps out a ton. Can't wait to make some more content for you guys. I think I'm going to be doing a Ghostface tier list in the next couple days, so look out for that. That'll be my last coverage on Scream for a while, and then we're going to get back to some more interesting stuff. Cannibal Holocaust deep dive is coming very soon, which is going to be, it's going to be a thing that happens. And yeah, I think I'm going to start doing some more rankings too. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, please comment, please subscribe, and let me know. And yeah, have a good fucking day.